Welcome to Oh Freebird Fly's Business Refresh series. My name is Kimberly Woods, and I'm the founder here at Oh Freebird Fly. And I have Katie Dursky with me. And Katie is the owner of Ribbon and Ink, and she is a branding strategist who helps small creative businesses create purposeful brands and websites with copy that converts their ideal clients. And so I just want to welcome you, Katie, and thank you for being here with our community today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
I met Katie through our community mentor, Jenna Shriver. And Jenna is a brand photographer, and she works with Katie and her clients. And just from seeing the work that you do with Jenna, just the behind the scenes, and just hearing, from Jenna about who you are and just the excellence that you bring, the service that you bring your clients, I knew that I was like, we have to have Katie as part of this business refresh, because I know that you come with not only like you have great insight into branding and their needs, but I feel like you have a kindness about you towards what they need. And you just I feel like you bring wisdom to your branding also. It's like you can like see into
Yes.
The wisdom of business.
Yes.
And what would be wise for them to do versus what would be necessarily popular or showy.
Right.
That you bring. Yeah, you have this wisdom piece.
Yes.
And
I love what I do.
You?
And I think that does come across like in the work that I do, that it's not just like, a person giving me money kind of a thing. Like I want people to be able to do what I do. Like I love my job. I wake up every day and I get to do what I love, and I want that for other people. And yeah, I feel like now that I have gotten to be, I'm 36 now, I feel like I've learned a thing or two like in my 20s, and now I'm at the point where I can really help people just with like their business model even, and just simple things that like really make a difference in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that wisdom definitely carries on in everything that you do, what you speak and what you put together. So yeah, absolutely. So thank you for coming to share your wisdom with our community, because I really feel like that's what's going to be that's really what they're going to even take away from these tips that you give.
Sure.
So something I was thinking about building a business, building a website, we build our websites, but I think that we forget to like update them and maintain them. It's like you get the whole thing done, and then you kind of like, okay, and that's like the last thing you think about as a business owner. Right. Some people do, but not all. And it's such an important piece of our business to update it. I think when I was thinking about you coming on, I was thinking about it's like having a storefront. Mm-hmm. We had clothing stores, and we would do a floor reset every 3 months, and change out everything, update whatever needed to be updated with our pricing, all the things, and really refresh it so that when our customers come, that they would see the refresh look and everything would be updated for them. So I kind of like, that's the way I'm like, I look at it is like, it's important that we refresh our websites.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So for this series, Katie is going to share some simple tips for you guys on refreshing your websites.
I know one question you had asked me was like how often you should do it.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on what industry you're in as well. Like I work with a lot of photographers, and they're constantly shooting, right? So like they constantly have new content that they're able to put up there, but they just don't. But I was actually updating my website right before I was talking to you. So like every time that I have a new launch, like I sit down and I make it a priority to blog it, to send a newsletter about it, and to put it in my portfolio, because I don't want to forget it and have it just like stockpile up like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So I try to just do it all in one sitting, because I understand that the marketing of my own business is just as important as the work itself. And I was talking to you earlier, like I only have a few hours today to actually do work, but I did make that a priority to schedule out a block to actually do like internal stuff, because that is super important, because you do want to have current stuff, not only because your work is always changing and getting better, but also you do want to show clients that, if they looked a few months ago, that there's new stuff there. Right. So
Yeah.
that would be like my suggestion, is to just, whenever you do have a new project that you consider like brand worthy, put it in your portfolio as soon as you can.
Okay. That's really good. Yeah. So even like, for photographers, they have, new images that they can show, and projects that they've been working on. But even like, like for us, like workshops that we've held, and
Mhm.
because I'm thinking about, what it would be for even like service providers and
Right.
things like that. But anything that you do new that you could showcase. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if you're not necessarily like a visual brand, like a
Yeah.
photographer, like I'd say, like, I count this as updating your website, is to be blogging, because that is where you can be consistently updating new content that Google is able to search and find you.
Okay.
So I look at it as like, one, you're staying current, and two, like you're giving Google new stuff to search to find you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's something that we don't really think about, even as just um,
Yeah.
people that don't have that, product to be shown, or images, things like that.
Right.
How important blogging is too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're speaking to me. When you just said that, I was like, oh yeah, I need to
I need
be
to talk all day about blogging,
I need to be
but
blogging.
yeah.
Man, I mean, you definitely have my wheels turning. I'm like, oh, I need to be blogging about even like the workshops and the different things.
Yep.
So
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Okay, so what is one really important thing to have or update on your website that entrepreneurs sometimes miss?
Yes. So I think one thing that people always miss is their keywords. So keywords are, what do you think people will type into Google to find you? Okay. So if you're a North Carolina wedding photographer, and you don't have that anywhere on your site, or it's like maybe in one spot in your footer in small font, like, I don't know where you are and what you do. Like, it needs to be very obvious for two reasons. One, people need, if you're location-based business, which photographers are, I'm not, so I don't put where I live, it's not important. But if you're location-based, having where you are is super important for people to know, one. And two, it's important for Google, like I said, to find you, because the more often you use those search terms, the more tallies Google sees for your website, and the more likely you're to be found with those. So that's definitely one thing, is to include your location if you are location based. And two, I mentioned earlier, blogging is something that a lot of people don't think to do. And I work with a lot of clients who are more established and they don't need to blog, but I work with a lot of people too that they're like really looking for business, like actively looking for it.
Yeah.
And like, really the best way to be found in Google is to blog. Like, that's where my most popular pages are. And to know what your most popular pages are, you really need like a Google Analytics account so that you can track that. But I have found blogging to be the most purposeful in helping me be found on Google. And whether you're doing it once a week, twice a week, once a month, as long as you're consistent about it, which I try to be, I was for a really long time, but now they're paying off from like years ago from doing. So just to start somewhere with that.
Okay, that's awesome. What would you say, what are maybe some keywords that would be for like service providers? So what you're saying is you don't have, you're not by location. So for you, what would be some things that you really pay, like make sure that you have?
Right. Yeah. So like, I always try whenever I do a blog post to use one of two phrases: branding for wedding businesses, or branding for creatives. Because I have found in Google, and show it is becoming a big keyword for me too, because I am a show it designer. And oftentimes, even though that's not necessarily like my main bread and jam is doing like branding and website together, but if I'm including the words, the term, show it in there, people find me, and then we have a discussion about branding as well. So sometimes you have to think out of the box of, how would people find you? And then you can kind of give them all the details of what you do, if that makes sense. And, you have to think too, like, people aren't necessarily, like, it took me a while to figure out what people are searching for. And now that I kind of know that, and you can use a tool called Google Search Console, which allows you to see what people search to find you, and show it templates, like show it designer. Those are big ones for me. So I'm learning, like, I need to incorporate those into my blog posts somehow when I'm writing them.
Nice. Those are great tips. I'm
Yeah.
going to use those, and I am going to blog.
Oh, good.
Because you mentioned that, I'm just like,
Mhm.
yes, because I think that we, like, for I think businesses like myself, you think it's for photographers and just
Right.
people who do website. I don't know. You don't think that it's for everybody, and that
Right.
really we all could be blogging.
Yeah, I think that people think that blogging is, yeah, for like visual businesses, but
Yeah.
really like the majority of like things that I'm found in Google are my tips posts, not like my work. So like, I mean,
Okay.
I do blog my work, but I even tell my photographers, like, blog your weddings, but you should be blogging tips too. So
Right. So you can like blog your weddings, but you can, like, tips are
oh
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, those are my most popular things where I get found.
Okay.
And like, I don't have many images in there, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's all like content that's searchable.
Very cool. All right. I love that. Okay.
Mhm.
So, what tips or steps would you recommend we take to refresh our website?
So I guess like figuring out first, like what, I mean, obviously there's a few things you can update on your website. You can update, let's start at the beginning. You can update colors, you can update fonts, you can update images and text, right? So generally, like, I wouldn't update your fonts and colors unless like you're being very purposeful and like going through some type of rebrand. I have found, so what not to do is to change your colors and
Mhm.
fonts every 3 weeks, right? Which a lot of
Yeah.
people do, but you're not building brand recognition and trust in your consumers when you do that. So like, you need to pick with something and stick with it. And I think oftentimes people don't stick with things is because they haven't worked with someone like me, so to speak, where you feel really confident in the decisions that you made. And
Yeah.
sometimes that just takes like an outsider and having that help. So that is just some food for thought. So I wouldn't change fonts and colors, but definitely like images and choosing what you feel is brand worthy. I use that term a lot with my clients. And by brand worthy, I mean like what images fit within your aesthetic of your brand and your color palette, because the more things match, that's what people care about, right? Like, does it all match together, right? Like if your brand colors are very neutral, but you're using a shoot that has hot pink and yellow, that doesn't, you don't want to do that. So choosing brand worthy images to update, so that you can continually be showing your progress. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have some images from like workshops, and people are wearing red, and I'm like, oh, that just throws everything
Right.
off. So I can't use them, for
Yeah.
different things like that on a
Another
website.
thing you can do now that I'm talking is, I always tell this to clients, this is why I do this for clients, is to have a styled brand shoot. And
Yeah.
I always tell people to do kind of like a half headshot style brand shoot one, where you can be really purposeful, especially if you are more of a service provider and you don't have a lot of images. Like, you don't necessarily want to use all stock images, right, that someone else could have access to.
Yeah.
You want to be really purposeful about what colors you're using, what aesthetic you have, how it's edited, so that you can then update your website with that content. So I think definitely always having updated headshots. I try to do it at least once a year.
Yep.
But I'm trying to really do it at least twice a year, just to have a variety of like outfits or whatever, that's in my reservoir to pull from. So I think that's really important, because as service-based people, like, people want to see your face, and that's really, really important. So updating headshots for sure, and choosing brand worthy images.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have mine done now twice a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
smart.
Yep. At first it was once a year, and then now it's twice a year.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're talking about, having the confidence when you do hire someone,
Mhm.
um, it it really does. So hiring someone like you to help, with the strategy and design, and it does bring a confidence to um, what you're doing, because you have that other person that is an expert, and they're speaking into it, and it can really help you, really not it helps you with confidence, but not have to change things over and over again, because
Yes.
that thing is why
Yep.
people, they feel like they're testing the things
Yep.
over and over and over again.
Yep.
um, but if they do hire, they have that confidence, and they stick with it.
Yeah.
Because they also have that person cheering them on, that it's
Right.
like, no, this
You
is
gotta
good.
pick, yeah, you gotta pick something, you gotta stick with it. And I think a lot of people too are constantly changing because they really haven't taken the time to learn like what audience they're trying to serve.
Yeah.
Which that should drive your visuals, not what you think is pretty.
Yeah.
And I think like that's like I always tell people that I talk to on sales calls, like I think there's a big disconnect where people will hire a designer who makes them something beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like it often like doesn't work, right? Because people, I get so many people are like, I just rebranded. I'm like, well, did you take the time to like figure out what your people want, like what they don't want, like all those things, because that should be driving what your visuals are versus what you think is pretty. So trying to get out of the web of like over and over, like changing things is often hard for people because they just don't know that, because they're not always business savvy. They're just good at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say, do you see a lot of where with updating, like refreshing their website, with not remembering to like update dates on things, and like if they're having a brand shoot or
Right.
a workshop, and it's like
Yeah.
old content
Right.
that's still
So
there?
yeah, like another tip I can give is if you're inconsistent with blogging or whatever, like I know like there's a date field on the blog, just take that off
Oh, that's a good idea.
so that you don't have to people won't see, oh, she hasn't blogged in a year or whatever. Like that's definitely something you can do.
I love that. No, that's such a simple tool
Yeah.
to give, because I think that also, I think another reason why people hesitate with blogging
Mhm.
too is
Right.
they don't know if they can be consistent,
Exactly.
and they're afraid to commit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that is a way around it.
Yep.
That just get started. Just start.
Right. Yeah.
And I
I
love
love
it. Thank
blogging
you.
too, because it's just, I can repurpose, like usually that's where I start and then I repurpose it like everywhere.
Okay.
So then like I copy it into like an email,
Yeah.
whatever. And then like I'll make a graphic and like put it on my Insta story on Instagram. So you can also have like a mindset shift to think of it as, oh, this annoying thing that as an afterthought. No, like let that be your first step,
Yes.
and then let that drive the rest of your content.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, those are awesome tips. Thank you so much.
Sure.
There's just a lot of like, you have a lot of history and a lot of wisdom on that. And so I want to encourage all the community to really take these tips and go through them and put them into action, because when you put it into action, it's going to create, and it's going to, when you refresh these things for your business website, which includes even blogging, because that's part of your website, that it's going to cause your business to thrive and do the things that you want it to do, and why you're in business, to serve your customers and clients and to reach them so that they can actually see who you are and what you do and fall in love with you and want to work with you. So are there what services do you offer for female?
Yeah.
I know, do you serve male and female?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly work with a lot of women who are in the wedding industry and a lot of realtors as well. Those are kind of my two niches that I've developed over the years. But I have started to work with more males, and I have tweaked my brand actually to be a little bit less feminine and more neutral, if you will.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so I do business strategy with my clients first and foremost, really defining like the mindset of your people, how to market to them, creating a client experience if they need help with pricing and packages, how to do sales calls, and then all that leads into a visual brand that you get your brand board, your stationery, social media templates, and then I do show up websites, and I do all of the initial copy for my clients because I've gotten pretty good at understanding who your people are from having that strategy call initially in the beginning. So those are all the things that I do for people. And I did want to offer, I have a coupon code for my blog course for you guys for 50% off. So I have a WordPress blog course that takes you through 8 steps that you should be taking for every post that will really help you to boost in the ranks. So if you just use freebird, you can get 50% off of my blog course, and you can find it in my shop at ribbonandink.com/shop.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, how can we connect with you? Where can we
Yeah,
find
so
you?
you can find me at ribbonandink.com. And then you can find me same handle over at Instagram at ribbonandink.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for being with us today. Again,
Sure.
wisdom, history on these tips, and I know that it's going to bless our community. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today, tuning in, and we bless your business. And be sure to check out the other sessions in this business refresh series, and we'll see you there.
Thank you. Bye.